There is a quiet power in denying oneself, a strength found not in abundance, but in restraint. Fasting is not merely about the absence of food, it is about the presence of something greater. It is an act of the will, a turning away from the distractions of the world to focus on something higher, something eternal. In both Christianity and Islam, fasting is not imposed as a burden, but embraced as a means of transformation. For the Christian, the 40 days of fasting reflect a journey through the wilderness, a time of testing and preparation. It mirrors the path walked by the Son of Man, who withdrew from the noise of the world to strengthen his spirit. For the Muslim, the 30 days of Ramadan are a sacred purification, a time when the soul is refined through discipline, gratitude, and devotion. Each tradition carries its own depth, its own beauty, and its own call to something beyond the fleeting pleasures of the moment. It is easy to look at numbers and differences, to measure one against the other. But fasting is not about competition. It is about the heart, about realigning the soul with its true purpose. It is a reminder that the body is not the master but the servant, that the spirit is not meant to be drowned in indulgence, but lifted in self-control. In a world that whispers of ease and comfort, fasting speaks in a different voice. It tells of struggle, of sacrifice, of the joy found in overcoming the desires that so often rule over us. And in that struggle, something remarkable happens. The heart grows lighter, the mind becomes clearer, and the soul, unburdened, begins to rise. Let's talk about something real, something deeper than just numbers. Fasting, whether it's 40 days or 30 days, is not just about abstaining from food. It's about discipline, sacrifice, and a connection to something greater than yourself. It's about pushing past what's easy, what's comfortable, and stepping into a realm where the spirit leads, not the flesh. Both Christianity and Islam call their followers to fast, but they do so in different ways. Christians observe 40 days, mirroring the time Jesus spent in the wilderness, facing temptation, preparing for his mission, strengthening his spirit through self-denial. Muslims fast for 30 days during Ramadan, a month of purification, gratitude, and devotion, a time to detach from worldly distractions and realign with God. The numbers may be different, but the goal is the same: transformation. You see, in life there are always going to be distractions, things pulling you in every direction, tempting you to take the easy road, the comfortable path. But nothing worth having comes easy. Fasting is a reminder of that. It is a moment in time when the physical takes a back seat and the spiritual takes the wheel. It teaches patience, self-control, and the power of saying no to yourself so you can say yes to something bigger. Imagine going 40 days without indulging in the things that make you feel comfortable. Imagine 30 days of breaking habits, shifting your focus, and putting your faith above your flesh. That's not weakness, that's power. That's a level of discipline most people never reach because they are too afraid to deny themselves, too used to saying yes to every craving, every impulse. But let's get one thing straight. Fasting is not suffering. It's not punishment. It's not just about avoiding food. It's about feeding your soul. When you strip away the distractions, when you silence the noise, you hear something you never noticed before, the voice inside you that's been buried under all the excess. You hear clarity, you hear purpose, you hear God. Both fasting traditions teach that this world is temporary. The food, the luxury, the desires, they all fade. What remains is the person you become through struggle. The person who has learned to stand firm in discipline, to resist what weakens them, to embrace what strengthens them. Whether it's 40 days or 30, the lesson is the same. Growth comes through challenge. Strength is built through sacrifice. Purpose is revealed in silence. Too often we get caught up in the details, in the differences, in the debate of which practice is right, which one is better. But the truth is, fasting is not about a competition of days. It's about commitment. It's about the journey within, the transformation that takes place when you let go of what controls you and allow faith to lead the way. So the question isn't which one is right. The question is, are you willing to embrace the challenge? Are you willing to step into discomfort to find strength? Are you ready to fast, not just from food, but from doubt, from fear, from all the things holding you back from becoming who you were meant to be? Because when you fast, when you sacrifice, when you focus on something beyond yourself, you don't just endure, you evolve. And that's where real power lies. There is a certain paradox in fasting. On the surface, it appears to be an act of deprivation, a willing surrender of comfort. Yet at its core, it is an experience of abundance. It is a lesson not in what is lost, but in what is gained. In Christianity and Islam alike, fasting is not simply a religious duty, but a transformative journey. It teaches faith, it cultivates discipline, and it deepens devotion. It is not about mere hunger, it is about reordering one's desires, reminding the soul that it is not meant to be a servant to the body, but rather, the body is to be a servant to the soul. Faith is the foundation upon which fasting stands. Without faith, fasting is reduced to mere ritual, an empty gesture devoid of meaning. But with faith, it becomes something far greater, a declaration of trust, a surrender to something higher. In Christianity, fasting is often a period of seeking, a time of reflection and preparation. The 40 days of Lent mirror the time spent in the wilderness, a test not of physical endurance alone, but of spiritual fortitude. It is a time when distractions are stripped away, when the noise of the world grows quiet, allowing a person to hear the voice of God with clarity. In Islam, fasting during Ramadan is an act of devotion, a month-long purification of the heart. It is a reminder that sustenance does not come from bread alone, that true nourishment is found in remembrance, in prayer, in aligning one's life with the will of the Creator. It is faith that transforms fasting from an obligation into an opportunity, a chance to grow closer to the divine, to strengthen one's reliance not on earthly comforts, but on something eternal. Yet faith alone is not enough. It must be accompanied by discipline. The world offers many paths, most of them easy, most of them lined with distractions and indulgences that promise happiness but deliver only fleeting satisfaction. Discipline, however, calls for something different. It demands restraint, a conscious effort to choose what is right over what is convenient. Fasting is a training ground for discipline, a test of will that reveals the strength or weakness of one's character. When the body craves food, when thirst becomes a whisper that grows into a shout, the mind is given a choice, to surrender to impulse or to stand firm. It is in these moments of struggle that true discipline is forged. The ability to say no to oneself, to delay gratification, to master one's desires rather than be mastered by them. This is the essence of fasting. And it does not end when the fast is broken. The lessons learned in those hours of restraint extend far beyond food. They shape the way one faces temptation, the way one approaches hardship, the way one carries oneself in the face of difficulty. But discipline, too, is incomplete without devotion. For what is self-retreat without purpose? What is sacrifice without love? Devotion is what gives fasting its meaning. It is what turns an act of discipline into an act of worship. It is not merely about what is given up, but about what is gained, a heart that is more attuned to the divine, a spirit that is more aware of its dependence on something greater. Devotion in fasting is seen in the quiet moments, in the prayers whispered in solitude, in the acts of kindness performed not for recognition, but out of a deep sense of love and duty. It is found in the early morning hours when the world still sleeps, in the breaking of the fast when gratitude overflows. In both Christianity and Islam, fasting is not just about the individual. It is about community, about shared struggle and shared faith. It reminds one that they are not alone in their journey, that across time and place, millions partake in the same act, driven by the same longing to draw nearer to the Creator. Faith, discipline, and devotion, these are not abstract ideals, distant and unreachable. They are woven into the very fabric of fasting, shaping those who embrace them into something greater than they were before. To fast is to step into a grand tradition, to participate in a practice that has strengthened the faithful for centuries. It is to recognize that true strength is not found in indulgence, but in self-control, that true fulfillment is not in what is consumed, but in what is given up. And so, fasting is not a burden. It is not a restriction meant to diminish life. but a path that enriches it. It is an invitation to rise above the ordinary, to embrace a life that is not ruled by impulse but guided by purpose. It is a reminder that while the body may hunger, the soul in its surrender is fed. There is something curious about the way fasting works upon the soul. At first glance, it seems like a hardship, a deprivation, a test of endurance against hunger and thirst. But as one goes deeper into it, something rather different begins to emerge. It is not suffering at all, it is liberation. It is not about the body growing weaker, but about the spirit growing stronger. There is a reason why both Christianity and Islam have placed fasting at the center of their spiritual practices. It is not merely about obedience to a command. It is about transformation. It is about faith, discipline, and devotion, three qualities without which a soul drifts aimlessly through life. Faith is the beginning of fasting. No one undertakes it unless they believe there is something greater to be gained, something beyond the temporary hunger of the stomach. It requires a trust that there is more to life than comfort, more to existence than satisfying every desire as soon as it arises. Faith says, there is something more, something unseen but real, something worth seeking. And so with faith, a person chooses to go without, not out of self-punishment but out of longing for something higher. In Christianity, fasting is often a time of preparation, an act of drawing closer to God by removing the distractions of the world. The 40 days of Lent mirror the time spent in the wilderness, a season of trial where faith is tested, strengthened, and purified. In Islam, fasting during Ramadan is a sacred period of renewal, where every moment without food and water becomes an act of devotion, a reminder that life itself is sustained not by mere bread, but by the will of the divine. It is faith that carries a person through, faith that assures them this practice is not meaningless but necessary, not a burden but a blessing. Yet faith alone is not enough. Without discipline, faith is only an idea, an intention never realized. Fasting demands discipline, the kind that does not waver when hunger strikes, the kind that does not break when desires whisper their temptations. It is not difficult to be disciplined for a moment, to resist for an hour, but to endure day after day, to rise in the morning knowing that the body will cry out and still choosing restraint. This is where true strength is found. The world does not celebrate discipline. It encourages indulgence. It whispers that one should take what they want when they want it without delay or restriction. But fasting teaches a different lesson. It says that there is power in saying no, in waiting, in mastering oneself, rather than being mastered by impulse. The one who can fast, who can control their body and desires, discovers a strength that extends beyond the practice itself. They become the kind of person who does not falter in the face of hardship, who does not seek the easy way but the right way. They learn to persevere, to endure, to overcome. And then there is devotion. The heart of fasting. For what good is faith without love? What value is discipline without purpose? Devotion gives meaning to fasting. It turns an act of self-denial into an act of worship. It transforms hunger into gratitude, sacrifice into offering. Devotion is what makes fasting a joy rather than a burden. In Christianity, fasting is accompanied by prayer, by quiet reflection, by acts of charity and kindness. It is not simply about what is given up, but about what is gained, a deeper relationship with God, a clearer understanding of one's dependence on Him. In Islam, fasting is woven into the rhythm of worship, from the dawn meal to the evening prayer, a daily reminder of God's presence and mercy. It is a time when generosity increases, when hearts are softened, when the soul is drawn back to its true purpose. Faith, discipline, and devotion, these are the lessons of fasting. And they are not lessons confined to a single season or a particular religious tradition. They are lessons for life. For life itself is a kind of fast. It is filled with moments of waiting, of resisting, of choosing what is right over what is easy. It requires faith to believe in what cannot yet be seen, discipline to stay the course when the road is long, and devotion to keep the heart fixed on what truly matters. Those who fast come to understand this. They discover that through struggle comes strength, Through restraint comes freedom. Through sacrifice comes something greater than what was given up. They find that they are not weakened but refined, not deprived but enriched. And when the fast is over, when the meals resume and the hunger fades, something remains. A quiet power, a deeper faith, a soul that has been shaped by the journey. And that is the true gift of fasting. Not simply the discipline it instills, nor even the devotion it strengthens, but the transformation it brings. It changes not just the body, but the heart. It teaches that self-control is not a limitation, but a pathway to something higher. It reveals that faith is not just belief, but action, not just words, but commitment. And above all, it reminds one that there is more to this life than what the eye can see, more than the fleeting pleasures that so often distract and weaken the soul. To fast is to awaken to a deeper reality. It is to remember that there is a purpose beyond the temporary, a calling beyond the immediate, and in that remembrance, one does not lose, but gains everything. All right, let's talk about something real, something that's been debated, questioned, and sometimes even used to divide. But today we're going to look at it differently. We're going to see the beauty in it, the strength in it, and most importantly, the unity in it. Fasting. It's one of the most powerful spiritual practices in the world. It's not just about skipping meals or pushing through hunger. It's about discipline, devotion, and faith. It's about stepping away from distractions and reconnecting with something bigger than ourselves. It's a test, yes, but it's also a gift. Now, there are different ways to fast. In Christianity, there's Lent, a 40-day period of fasting, prayer, and reflection leading up to Easter. In Islam, there's Ramadan, 30 days of fasting from sunrise to sunset, a time of devotion, self-control, and spiritual renewal. The question that gets asked sometimes is, which one is right? Which one is better? And that right there, that's the wrong question. Because the truth is, it's not about which one is right. It's about what both of them represent. It's about the purpose behind them, the transformation they bring, and the faith they strengthen. You see, both fasts are rooted in something powerful, the idea that we are more than our physical needs, more than our daily routines, more than the distractions that pull us in 100. They both teach us that true strength doesn't come from indulging every desire, but from controlling them. They both remind us that life isn't just about what we consume, it's about what we give, how we grow, and who we become. Think about it for a second. When you fast, you feel the hunger. Your body starts reminding you of everything you're missing. But that's when the real lesson kicks in. That's when you realize just how much control your desires have over you. And that's when you get to take that control back. Christianity teaches that fasting is a way to prepare, to humble yourself, to strip away distractions and get closer to God. Jesus himself fasted for 40 days in the wilderness, resisting temptation, proving that the spirit is stronger than the flesh. It wasn't about proving toughness, it was about proving faith. And that's what Lent is about. It's not just about food, it's about sacrificing comfort to focus on what truly matters. Islam teaches that fasting during Ramadan is about purification of the mind, the body, and the soul. It's about developing patience, empathy, and discipline. It's about remembering those who don't have the luxury of eating whenever they want. It's about gratitude, about realizing that every sip of water, every bite of food is a blessing that shouldn't be taken for granted. And at the end of it, after 30 days, there's a celebration not just of completing the fast, but of the personal and spiritual growth that came from it. Both practices teach the same core values: self-control, gratitude, humility, and faith. They both teach that we are not ruled by our appetites, that we are capable of pushing through discomfort to reach something greater. They both show us that true fulfillment doesn't come from what we consume, but from what we overcome. Now, if both of these fasts teach such powerful lessons, why do people try to compare them? Why do people ask which one is better, which one is more correct? That's the problem with the world today. Too many people looking for ways to divide instead of looking for what unites. Too many people focused on the differences instead of recognizing the shared truth. Because here's the thing, it's not about the number of days, it's not about the exact rules, it's not even about which religion does it best. It's about the purpose behind it. It's about the impact it has on your soul. It's about how it transforms you. Look around, the world is filled with distractions. Everywhere you turn, there's something trying to pull your attention, something trying to make you want more, buy more, consume more. We live in a time where self-indulgence is encouraged, where the idea of self-denial seems almost crazy. But fasting reminds us that there's power in restraint, that there's freedom in discipline, that there's strength in sacrifice. And that's something that goes beyond religion. That's something every person, no matter their faith, can understand. So, which fast is right? That's not the question. The real question is, are you willing to embrace the lessons of fasting? Are you willing to step away from comfort, to push yourself beyond what's easy, to find clarity in the midst of struggle? Are you willing to see fasting not as a burden, but as a blessing? Because in the end, it's not about the food, it's not about the hunger, it's about the change, the growth, the transformation. It's about faith, about discipline, about devotion. And those things, they aren't bound by religion. They aren't limited to one tradition. They are universal, they are powerful, and they are what truly matter. So instead of asking which fast is right, ask yourself this: how will I use fasting to become stronger? How will I let it shape me, refine me, and bring me closer to my purpose? Because once you start asking that, you'll see the truth that fasting in all its forms is not about division, it's about unity. It's about something greater than any one person, greater than any one belief. And that is the real power of fasting. So in the end, it's not about counting days, it's not about which tradition does it best, it's about what fasting does to you, how it shapes your mind, strengthens your spirit, and deepens your faith. Whether it's 30 days, 40 days, or any form of self-discipline, the lesson is the same. True strength comes from sacrifice, true clarity comes from restraint, and true faith comes from devotion. Instead of asking which fast is right, ask how fasting can make you better. Because when you embrace its power, you don't just go without, you grow within. And that is everything.